Hey everyone, Nurse Numismatic here. Today I'm going to explain what a checker coin is in coin roll hunting, and we'll take a look at some of the checkers from that little half box penny roll hunt I did the other day. What is a checker coin? Well, when we're hunting through rolls of coins from the bank, there are some of those obvious coins that we'll call keepers or finds. So in that half box of pennies I hunted, I found seven keepers or finds. I found three wheat cents. I found three foreign cents. They're all Canadian. A couple of them here are, pretty standard Canadian circulated pennies. So nothing too special. But this one was actually kind of fun. So this is a 1967, appears to be a commemorative penny with this bird on the back. So if anyone knows more about this, feel free to mention it in the comments, explain what this is. Not one that I'm real familiar with, so kind of a cool find though. A little bit different than most of those Canadian cents I come across. The other keepers or finds I had, like I said, we got a few wheat cents here, and then I also decided to keep this 2006, or is it a 2008? I think it's 2008. Yep, 2008. It was just in really good condition, really nice and shiny. Might have a book to put this in. I'll just have to check. So, um, almost looked like a proof. It kind of threw me off there for a minute when I first found it. So those are the keepers or finds that I had in that half box, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today we are talking about our checkers, and that is this little pile right over here. So, like I said, what is a checker? Well, when we're hunting through these coins, based on the year and mint mark of the coin, the coin might have an error or variety that we need to check for. So that is a checker. I find it helpful to keep a short list nearby of the ones that I like to look for, and then just set those ones to the side in a pile as I find them. Then after I'm done hunting through, however many rolls I'm hunting, then I sort them out by date and mint mark, and go through checking them all at the end. It really saves a lot of time because I'm not, hunting back and forth from the coins to the coin scope and all that, and comparing against pictures online for some of those varieties I'm looking for that I've never seen before in real life. I like to compare against pictures if I'm not real sure. So I figured we could go through this pile of checkers together. So now, when it comes to Lincoln Memorial cents, so those 1 cent coins from 1959 through 2008, there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of varieties and errors. The ones we're going to look at today are really just a small sample of what there is to look for. And also, like, there's a lot to look for that I don't know about or that I just don't remember. So, like I said, I'm only going to cover the errors and varieties from my list that I happened to find at least one checker for as I was going through this box. And I don't know if we'll find any of them, but still, it'll be fun to talk about, and we'll look at some pictures of what we're looking for as well. Also, please feel free to mention anything in the comments that you look for that I didn't cover here, or if on any of these ones there's something that I missed, make sure you call that out. So, all right, well, let's get right into it. The earliest date checker that I found was this 1960 out of Denver. And when I look at these, the first thing I look for is the potential for actually, this one here, the D over D repunched mint mark. So I'll make that a little bit bigger so that you can see it here. So the 1960 D over D repunched mint mark, there's actually over 60 different varieties of the D over D RPM in 1960. And this in this era, the mint mark was repunched or kind of double struck into the die used to mint the coin. So, like I said, lots of different varieties, just showing a couple of the more obvious ones here. So, let's take a look at the one I found here under the scope and see if we have a repunched mint mark. And doesn't look like it. One of the really subtle RPMs might be present there. Kind of hard to tell in a coin that's in pretty circulated condition. But if it was a major one, we'd be able to see it right off the bat. So when you check a checker for what you're looking for and you don't find it, then it can go back into the bank bag. But we're not done with this 1960D. Um, because in 1960 there's actually two different varieties of the date as well. So it's actually only in the 1960 out of Philly where one of the date varieties is considered rare. But in the 1960D in Denver, there are still the large and small date varieties, and it's fun practice to identify the differences when you do have one of these. So to figure out the difference here, you can see that in the what they call the small date variety, the top of the one right here is like level with the top of the nine. Whereas over here on the large date, the top of the one is a bit below the top of the nine. And then the six is another pretty big giveaway here where we have a much shorter tail on the six. If you kind of follow this circle around and look where it cuts that tail off, compared to if we follow this circle around and cut that tail off, the large date has a much longer tail there. So once again, let's switch over and take a look under our scope at this one. All right. So what do you think? I think that we probably have a large date, right? Because we can see that the one doesn't go quite all the way up to the top of the nine there in the 1960, and then if we follow that circle on the bottom of the six, cut off that tail, we have a nice long tail sticking up off of that. So that is the 1960D large date. Like I said, in Denver, large or small date doesn't matter a lot in terms of rarity, but good practice to check those out. All right, let's see what we have up next. So the next one I found here, I actually have a couple of these. The 1969S. So 69S, a little nicer one here. And then this one here has been chewed up and damaged to beat heck, but we'll still take a look. So what are we looking for in a 1969S? Well, in the 69S, there is a known variety, the 1969S double die obverse. At the FS 101 here, probably one of the rarest of all the Lincoln sent double dies, but definitely one worth looking for, even in a nasty chewed up coin like this one, because with how rare it is, if you find it, definitely going to be worth your time checking. All right. Well, I don't see anything in the We Trust there or the year 1969S or in Liberty. So our first one is a strikeout, but we'll take a look at the chewed up one, see if we get lucky. It's a little harder to tell in the poor condition coins, especially for some of the more subtle doubling errors, but definitely not seeing anything jumping out on these ones. So let's see what we have next. All right, next one I found here was 1970S, and I have a couple examples of this of the 70S checker coin that came out of the box here. Of course, in the 1970S, there's actually a couple things we're looking for. We're going to look for a large date versus small date, and we're going to look for some doubling. On the right side of the screen there, you can see the 1970S large date. Just like we looked at the 6 in the 1960 and kind of looked at the round part of the curve and then followed where that pointed to, we're going to do the same thing with the 9 in the 1970. We're going to follow this circle and see where it points. And on the large date, that points straight down to the bottom of the 7. And the 7 is the bottom of the 7 is just a little bit lower than the bottom of the 0. So that's how we'll identify that large date. In the small date, if we follow that curve of the 9, it's going to point right over to the middle of the 7. And you can see the bottom of the 7 and the bottom of the 0 are basically perfectly lined up or level there. So we'll look at larger small date, and then we'll also look for doubling in liberty and in the motto, in God we trust. If we find a large date, we are going to look especially carefully for that doubling. The large date Lincoln cent of the 1970s with the double die is extremely rare. It is scarce. There's actually only about 50 known to exist. So I don't think we're going to find the large date double die today, but who knows? We have to check them. All right, let's take a look at what we've got. So we'll look at this one first. First, we'll look to see whether we're dealing with a large date or a small date. So looking at that one there, we have the 1970s. And when I look at that, I see that 7 sticking down below the 0, pretty obviously right there. And when I follow the curve on that 9, it is pointing down towards the bottom of that 7. So it looks like we do have the 1970s large date here. And so now we're going to look for that double die obverse in liberty and in God we trust. If this is a DDO, this would be a great find. But initially here, I am not seeing any doubling in the motto. How about in liberty? Not seeing the doubling there either. So we have a 1970s large date there. So we identified the variety. No error with that doubling, but we have another one to look at. So let's take a look here. 1970s. And this also looks to be the large date. We got the circle on the 9 is pointing down towards the bottom of the 7. That 7 sticks down below the 0. Let's see if we've got doubling. Doesn't look like it. Not seeing the doubling on that one. So we found a couple 1970s large date specimens in the coin hunt there today. Heck yeah. I hope you're having as much fun as I am with this. This is really one of my favorite parts about coin collecting is being able to learn about the different things to look for, taking time to go through and looking at things under the scope to try to find some of those less obvious errors and varieties. We have a 1972 here out of Philly. We're going to take a look, and we're just looking for some doubling on this one, on the obverse there. So we'll check that one a little bit quicker here. All right, so we're looking for doubling in the motto up in the top. Doesn't look like it. Check out Liberty there. Not seeing any there, and not seeing any over there in the date, but never hurts to check. So next up, we have our 1974s. This is a little less commonly known, but there is a large versus small date variety here. And I'm honestly just was mostly excited when I found this one because it is an S mint mark coin from the 70s in pretty nice condition. Was pretty happy with this one when I came across it in the roll and saw it was an S mint mark. So was pretty happy with that coin. And then looked up in my list of varieties and saw that there is a large and small date on this as well. So let's take a look and see what we think about this one. Get over to that date. So let's get that rotated right there. 1974S. So this difference is a little more subtle, a little harder to tell, I think, in my opinion. The shape of the four, kind of, right along this line versus right up there. The kind of indentation on the seven there is a bit different. Again, kind of following that curve, we're kind of close to the bottom there, maybe closer to the middle. We follow that curve. It's gonna, you could argue it's pointing a little bit lower. And one of the other ways you can tell on this one that I kind of have cut off in the photos that I'm comparing it to here is how close it is to the rim. The small date has a little more space between the four and the rim, and this one is pretty close there. So, believe this is the 74S large date, and it's in pretty nice shape. So that one would be worth putting in a book if we have an empty slot for it. All right. Next up, we have 1982. This was a big year for the Lincoln cent. So in 1982, we have the two different types of metal used in the coin. So they started initially making it in copper, as they had for the years prior to 1982. And partway through the year, switched over to doing the zinc coins, which we've had essentially since then. So the first big difference we need to differentiate in 1982 pennies is the weight, because that's how we're going to figure out if it is a copper or if it is one of the zincs. So we have our trusty little scale here. I am just going to set it down. Won't really work to show you what actually comes up on the scale, but I promise maybe you'll be able to see it from there. When we're looking for a copper penny, the copper pennies are going to be 3.1 grams, and I'll give you a second to try to test your knowledge and see if you are correct on the weight of the zinc. The zinc pennies are 2.5 grams, 2.55, 2.5, more or less. So we're going to turn that bad boy on. So I have got a stack of 82s here, and I am just going to drop them on and see what we have. So first one here is 2.5 grams. So that's going to be a zinc. We have 3.11. Heck yeah. So we got a copper there. So I'm just going to separate these out. Next one up, we have the weight 2.5. We've got 3.07. That's awfully close to 3.1. That's going to be a copper. We've got the 2.5 on that one. That one's going to go over there in the zinc pile. And another 2.5. So we have 4 of the zincs and 2 of the coppers. We also have a small date versus large date to look at here, and different mint marks, of course, from the Philadelphia and Denver mints. So when we look at these, you'll notice, if you look up there, if you think, okay, large and small date from Philadelphia and Denver mint, you'd think that there would be 8 different varieties. But there's only 7 reasonable varieties. Technically, the 8th one does exist. The 1982 Denver small date copper variety is, so we have large and small date, the alloy, and the mint. And the Denver small date copper, it's not shown in those 7 on the screen there, in the little slide. That is the one that is worth all the money. The rest of these, even in really nice condition, really aren't worth much more than face value. But still good practice and fun to identify them in case we would ever come across that 1982D small date copper. All right. So when we are trying to figure out the small date versus large date, couple things to look for in this. So let's get that up on the screen. So first of all, we have the 1982 out of Denver. The first thing we'll look for is the 8. This is going to be a pretty quick and obvious giveaway on the large date versus small date. In the large date, we have equal sized upper and lower loops. And in the small date, the upper loop of the 8 is smaller than the bottom. So this one is going to be a small date. Additionally, the number 2 on the large date, the numeral 2, has a straight diagonal 2, and the small date has this crooked diagonal 2. So we're looking at a small date here. So that is the 82 small date. And unfortunately, that one was off of my zinc pile, not the copper pile. So not the very rare, very valuable coin. So this one here, we have another small date, zinc 1982. Got the small circle on the top of the 8, the curved or crooked diagonal on the 2. We got that one. We've got the same thing here. A small circle on the top of the 8, a crooked 2, and the last zinc one I have of the 1982 is a Philly, and this is our first large date. So on this one, you can see that the top of the 8, number 8, and the lower loop of the 8 are basically the same size, and the 2 has that straight diagonal versus the curved. So best way to look at these is to compare both of them. So we have our large date there, and sorry, small date, and then this is our large date. So we can remember that the big circle on the top of the 8 is the large date, large loop, and small loop. All right. Like I said, those were the zinc ones, so not going to get too excited about those, but we have a couple coppers here to check. So remember what we're really hoping for, but probably are not going to find, is that 82D small date copper. So let's see what we've got. We've got an 82D copper, and the circles on that 8 are about the same size. We have that straight diagonal on the 2. So that is the large date, of course. All right, we got one more to check here. Let's see what it is. This is another 82D. It is copper, and it is another large date. So not the super rare and valuable. This one's kind of nice. You can see in that copper alloy, there's kind of that wood grain texture, just part of how the alloy got mixed, in a really nice condition. That really, I think, adds a lot of nice eye appeal to a coin. But none of those will be worth keeping or saving. But like I said, we've got to check them because you never know when you're going to find that coin. All right, what do we have next to look at? Well, 1984. In 1984, we have kind of a fun double die obverse to look at. The DDO or double die obverse on this coin. Many of these we are really just looking at the dates or the word liberty or the motto "In God We Trust." But on this one, we can primarily identify this double die obverse by looking at Lincoln's ear. You can see he kind of has a second earlobe right there, right along there. That line of a second earlobe should not be there. You can see it a little bit better in this picture as well, that second earlobe. And then there's actually a die scratch running from northwest to southeast through the letter E of we in God we trust. So just another way to confirm, particularly if this is kind of a high point on the coin. So in a more worn coin, you can still identify this by double checking for that die scratch. So let's take a look at what we found in our hunt and see if we have the variety. Like I said, so that's the 1984 out of Philly. And nope, only one earlobe on that one. No die scratch up by the Wii. This one's in a little better condition. So let's see what we got. We got 1984 out of Philly. And still just one earlobe and no die scratch. So no dice on the 1984s, but we will keep moving and see what we find. All right, next up, we have the 1987D. Looking for another repunched mint mark on these. And boy, I found a lot of these in the half a box I looked through. So let's take a look at what we got. Again, there's a number of different repunched mint mark varieties on the 1987D. So, of course, some of them are really subtle. I don't usually look for those ones. But if we get a nice, significantly repunched mint mark, we'll definitely hang on to that one. Let's see what we got. All right. Nothing on that one. Take a look at our next one there. Almost looks like there's a lamination problem right around that space. You can kind of see it up on the date as well. So if anybody has any ideas on this one, it doesn't necessarily look like a repunched mint mark. Actually, I don't know what your thoughts are on this. If anybody has any ideas, why don't you go ahead and put that in the comments? I'm newer to coin roll hunting myself and always am learning and know that there's a lot of really great, um, intelligent people out there in the community, but this is definitely one I'm going to hang on to until I find out more about it. That's kind of exciting. I don't know exactly what it is, but look forward to seeing your comments to find out. All right, let's take a look at this one. Oop, there we go. Nope, nothing crazy on that. Like a nice single punched mint mark on that one. And on that one, like I said, I got a whole pile of these ones to check. I don't think so. Let's keep looking here. 1987D, looking for the repunched mint mark. Kind of almost got some of the same stuff going on, like right around that D, but it's not up on the date like on that last one. So I definitely have something I'll be looking into understanding and learning here. Nothing there. Nothing there. Let's take a look at what we have next on our list. Ooh, we're into our close AM versus wide AMs. So, primary years of known varieties of this are 1992, 98, 99, and 2000. So here's the deal. From 1959 through 1929, the mint used the wide AM design, which you can see on the bottom of the screen here, where there is a space between A and M on America. On the reverse of the coin. And so proof strikes, business strikes, they were all wide AM through 1992, except that in 1992, there were some Coins struck with the close AM die, both in the Philly and the Denver. So we check 92 P and D for that close AM. Of the close AM varieties, wide AM varieties, the 1992 close AM is the rarest and the most valuable. So the Philly being more valuable and rare than the Denver in that, but they are both a great find. So we'll be looking for that. I've got a couple 92s here. Um, then in 1993, everything, both the business strike and the proofs, were done in the close AM. And there aren't any necessarily known or recognized variety, wrong ones. In 1994 through 2008, then, for the business strikes were intended to be the close AM, and the proofs were intended to be the wide AM. So if we find a wide AM in a business strike, so in one of the Phillies, that would be a variety. So that is what we're looking for in 98, 99, and 2000. There are known Philly wide AMs. And then in the 98 and 99S, if you find one of those S proofs and you find it in a close AM, that would be another good variety because those are supposed to be the wides. So let's take a look at what we've got. All right. So first up, I have, well, we'll save our 92s for last. I'll do the 98 Phillies I have here. So I've got two of those. First one, 98 Philly. This is going to be a close AM, and that is considered normal. So that is not a variety. So that one will go back in the bank bag. And so again, in 98, 99, and 2000 P Phillies, we are looking for the wide AM, which we will see because there will be a gap between the point on the A and the M. Both of these 98s are the close AM, so nothing special about those. And we will move on to our 1999s. Again, looking for wide AM on these. That's a close. Those are touching. This is another 1999. Those are touching. They're the close. Looking for the wide AM on the 1999 out of Philly. And another close. So nothing on our 99s. We've got some 2000 Phillies here, and I have 5 of those that we'll take a look at. Let's see what we've got. Get it pointed the right way there for you. So again, that's another close AM. Not what we're looking for. Looking for the wide AM. Wide AM variety. Come on, let's see what we find. Those are also touching. No luck so far. Let's see. How about this one? Nope. So another close AM. Looking for our wide AM. Last one on the 2000s here. The 2000 Philly wide AM is one of the easier ones to find, one of the more common varieties, but not for us today. But we still have those 92s to look for, and that's the one that we're really hoping to find. So let's see. Let me find the stack of 92s. I have 7 1992s to look through here. They are a mix of Phillies and Denvers. I think most of them are Denvers, one Philly. So we'll save that Philly for last. And now remember, in 92, it was supposed to be the wide AM. And so what we are wanting to find is a close AM in our 92s. So first of our 92 Denvers, looking for the close AM. And unfortunately, we have a gap between the A and the M there. So that one is not a keeper. That is a wide AM. Looking for the 92 close AM. Another Denver here. This one is not in very good condition, but it's a wide. We're looking for a close. We're looking for the A and the M to be touching on the 1992s. These ones are not, but we will keep searching. We've got a gap on that one, making it a wide AM. We are looking for the close AM. Come on, let's see what we've got. No good. The last but not least is our 1992 out of Philly. Looking for a close AM, looking for those to be touching, and no luck today. But we are learning together about what we're looking for, what there is to find on these pennies, and plus, searching pennies super accessible. If you get yourself 25 bucks, you can go to most banks and um, it's often harder to get full boxes of other types of coins, but to get a full box of pennies, many banks that you have any sort of an account at will let you do that. So feel free to check it out, and you get a whole box of pennies. That's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pennies to look through for things like this. So all right. Well, we didn't find any of the known varieties of the close or wide AMs, but we are gonna keep on looking. Oh, one other thing to know: if you're looking at the wide and close AMs, um, and you're like, I'm not really sure, I don't have anything to compare this to right now. There's actually a second difference on these. That if you look at the initials FG, um, excuse me, also on this reverse of the coin, um, they will be either closer or farther away from the like steps or the corner of the building there. And so you can see this is opposite though. That's what you want to remember. So on your wide AM, where you have the gap between the A and the M, the FG initials are going to be right up next to the building. On the close AM, where your A and M are touching, the FG initials are going to be a little wider or a little farther apart from the building. So, just another way that you can double check. So, if you find that 1992 P close AM and you're like, yeah, I think that's close. I think they're touching. I think that's close enough to count it. Um, and then you come down here and you look and you see that FG is right up next to that building, well, then you probably didn't find that close AM. But just a sort of second feature to look for as you're looking for that variety. And the last little pile of checkers I have here is our 1995s out of Denver. A couple different DDOs here. The FS 01103 there on the left side of the screen. This particular variety of the double die obverse can be worth up to like 50 bucks, even in just like an F12 grade, like not even a very, very high grade coin. So definitely want to check these. Again, not, a super common error, so you're not necessarily likely to find it often, but it only takes a second to check. So we'll see if we got lucky today. And of course, there are a number of different DDO varieties on this 1995D. So there's also the FSO1 101, which the doubling on Liberty there in the kind of north direction. In the In God We Trust doubling between the 101 and the 103 can be a little bit similar looking. But really, that 103, you can like kind of even see that doubling or that outline in the background, in addition to the doubling right on the letters there. So um, definitely we'll take a look these. Looks like I have 5 of these for us to look at. So starting off looking down at that date, because on the 103 variety, there is pretty significant doubling around the date. Nothing on this one. If we go up to the word trust, nothing there. In God, we trust. Liberty, not noticing any doubling on that coin. We'll go to our next one here. Start by looking at that date. Nothing there. Trust. These are all really nicely minted coins without doubling, which of course is not what we're looking for, but good job, US Mint. Looks like all these ones I have in front of me so far were made with nice, not doubled dies. So US Mint doing its job and doing it well. Of course, we prefer when they don't. It gives us fun things to find. All right, and last one here of the 1995 Ds. One more beautifully struck coin. No noticeable doubling on those. So, you know, didn't necessarily find any doubling repunch mint marks today. I I still keep coming back to this one in my head here. This was it this one? Got a couple of them sitting here. Yeah, it's 87D. So somebody tell me what's going on with this coin. I'd greatly appreciate it. Might even edit this part into a short just to try to get the word out there and see what other people think on this. But I'll probably spend the rest of the night looking this up myself as well to see if I can figure out what's going on there. But that's really all I had for today. I wanted a chance to kind of go through these. Well, I was going to go through them myself anyway, but figured if I was going to be doing that, I might as well just go ahead and put together a few pictures of what I'm looking for and take some time to go through that with you guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching up until this point, you get a gold star for today. Longer video than I usually do here, but wanted to just kind of dig through these and didn't necessarily have time to pop up on a live today to do those. So figured I'd go ahead and throw it in just a little more of a long form video here for you. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I have another whole box of pennies here that I have not opened yet, have not searched it. So if you are interested in seeing more content about what I find in this box, or if you think that I should try to do a penny roll hunt live and see how that goes, you just let me know. We'll see what I can do about that. Otherwise, make sure that you tune in to my live stream. I stream every Sunday night with Ashley Swag Fam, or most Sunday nights. And this week, I'll actually be streaming tomorrow night over on Million Dollar Meg's channel. So make sure you check both of those out. And thanks so much for watching. Like I said, if you enjoyed this content, make sure you hit that like, make sure you're subscribed. And if you are subscribed, turn that little bell icon on. YouTube really likes it when you do that. And so do I. But I hope you all have a great day. Let me know what you like to look for in the pennies. If you do any sort of roll hunting, or even if you're just looking through change and you know about something I missed. But that's all I have for you today. This is Adam J, Nurse Numismatic, and we will see you in the streams.